Chapter 70. The Inferior Commandery. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. The Bloody Eagle had not only a giant size, but also was very fast. It was said that one could cover 9,000 kilometers per day, thus many Heaven Realm warriors desired blood-feathered eagles as their mounts. Within an hour, it had already flown out of Yanwu City and entered the boundless wilds. Sitting on the back of blood-feathered eagle, Liu Chengfeng winked at Zhang Yuochen as if he had something to say. Zhang Yuochen was a little confused and asked, "Brother Liu, what do you mean?" Liu Chengfeng stared at the woman in a purple dress who sat next to Zhang Yuochen, and then he said in a lower voice, "Ninth Prince, did you not even know her?" Zhang Yuochen glanced at the girl quickly and shook his head. "No, I don't." Liu Chengfeng was handsome, however. He looked perverted when he laughed. He grinned and said, "Her name is Ziqian. She's very famous in Yanwu City. Not only beauty but also her talents for practicing martial arts. It's said that she had already reached the dawn state of the Black Realm and she will probably become a warrior of the Earth Realm in the future." He added, "There are countless sons of the government officials and the large-scale families want to marry her in Yanwu City. Yet, no one had won her heart. Rumor has it that the third prince, your brother, has also followed her but she refused him." "Ha ha. I can't believe we are going to the school of the martial market to take part in the exam together. We may perhaps become classmates, who knows?" "Well, my ninth prince, if you're not interested in her, I'll go after her." Although Liu Chengfeng spoke as low as he could, being a young warrior at the dawn state of the Black Realm as well as sitting next to Zhang Yuochen, Ziqian heard every single word that Liu Chengfeng had said. Zhang Yuochen felt embarrassed and yet Liu Chengfeng acted like nothing happened. He nodded towards Ziqian and started a conversation with Ziqian. "Miss Zi, I'm Liu Chengfeng, son of the manager of the Martial Market Bank. I've long heard of you and you're just as beautiful as I expected." Indeed, Ziqian was very gorgeous, with long eyelashes and two crystal big eyes. She had rosy lips like a cherry and a fair body like white jade. The ninth Commandery Princess and Lin Ningshan were two beauties in Yanwu City, but they were both so young that they could only be seen as teenage girls who were turning into adults. Ziqian was different. Her figure was perfection when compared to the ninth Commandery Princess and Lin Ningshan. Every curve of her body was gorgeous. Ziqian glanced at Liu Chengfeng and said, "Son of a manager, your father is just a presbyter in the Martial Market Bank, let alone in the whole Yanwu Commandery." Liu Chengfeng did not feel any awkwardness. Then he continued, "I think Miss Zi had a bias against me." "No, I don't. I just heard something bad about your personality, so I don't want to make friends with you," said Ziqian. She spoke frankly and made the young warriors around them laugh, which made Liu Chengfeng feel as if he had been put out. Be mindful. The number of people who had been turned down by Ziqian was countless. Some of their identities and talents were more or less the same as Liu Chengfeng. Yet he dared to chase after Ziqian. He deserved to be humiliated. Withdrawing his smiles, Liu Chengfeng said gravely, "How dare you humiliate me? I have many attendants in the School of Martial Market. I will lesson you there." "Ahem." Zhang Yuochen cleared his throat and said, "Brother Liu, haven't you decided to behave yourself?" Liu Chengfeng answered, "Ninth Prince, didn't you hear how she insulted me? How dare she say I'm not a good person and she didn't want to make friends with me?" "Calm down. If you want to build your reputation again, you have to learn how to control your temper and stop being so explosive. Always reflect on yourself before judging others. I'm sure that if you had behaved well previously, Miss Zi would want to be friends with you," said Zhang Yuochen. "But never mind, I don't want quarrels with a woman." "Listen to your warning, ninth prince." Liu Chengfeng bit his teeth and bowed with his hands to Ziqian as he said, "Sorry, Miss Zi, it was my fault." Ziqian looked at Zhang Yuochen and nodded. "It is nice to follow the ninth prince's instruction in the future." "That's true," Liu Chengfeng answered. Chen Liebing, another killer who was sitting behind Zhang Yuochen, looked calm and said, "Since Mr. Liu is the son of the Martial Market Bank's manager, I guess you're definitely the most familiar with the exam of the school. I wonder if you can tell us more about the exam?" Liu Chengfeng laughed and said proudly, "I surely know a lot more about the School of Martial Markets than any of you. To be honest, I've been to the school of the martial market and practiced there 7 times before reaching the Black Realm. I've gained a lot each time I visited. There were 103 young warriors of Inferior Commandery that attended the exam of martial market school last year. 28 of them died and 37 were injured and crippled during the exam. Only 3 warriors had passed the exam and become the external students of the school in the end. Heard what Liu said. Many young warriors took a deep breath since they never expected such high death rate. Liu Chengfeng was rather happy to see everybody's reaction, so he continued, after all, Inferior Commandery is just an inferior commandery with a population of 80 million. There are only over 100 people to attend the exam each time. I guess you've all heard of Square Commandery? It's a medium-level commandery with a population of 300 million. A few hundred warriors attend the exam each year. There were 36 warriors who had become the external students of the School of Martial Market last year. However, only 36 warriors had passed the exam in Inferior Commandery. What a huge gap! A warrior that looked 27 or 28 years old gasped. In the Western 9 prefectures, the Square Commandery is the only medium-level commandery equipped with the strongest power. She is 5 times bigger than Inferior Commandery. Unfortunately, commanderies, who are bound to Square Commandery, have always been oppressed. 2 years ago, near the Mo River, there was a war between us and Square Commandery, which had plotted to capture a mine that located in Omen Ridge of our commandery. However, the military force of Square Commandery was 5 times than ours and she sent 400,000 armies out to defeat us. Unfortunately, that mine had been plundered. It was said that Square Commandery had killed 30,000 of our soldiers, taken away 7 cities and captured millions of people of our commandery in that fight. Those people who had become prostitutes and slaves worked at the mine without any sunlight. Some of them were living incredibly poorly and even being bullied by the people from Square Commandery. What a hate! Looking at Zhang Yuochen, who sat aside, Liu Chengfeng said, if we didn't fight back and let Square Commandery take away our mine, we would definitely be oppressed even more in the future. Everybody signed. They all knew that Inferior Commandery could not compete against Square Commandery. Even Inferior Commandery Prince was injured seriously and nearly died in the war 2 years ago. Based on the size of population, territory, and the number of strong warriors, commanderies could be divided into 3 levels, ranging from the inferior commanderies, the medium-level commanderies to the superior-class commanderies. Generally speaking, an inferior commandery had a population of less than 100 million. Medium-level commanderies had a population between 100 million and 500 million. Almost all superior-class commanderies had populations of over 500 million. Besides population size and territory area, the number of warriors should also be taken into consideration. The more martial arts warriors a commandery had, the stronger it was. For example, a commandery could also be thought as a medium-level commandery with a population of tens of millions, only if she had a huge number of warriors of the Earth Realm and the Heaven Realm. Liu Chengfeng said, it is said that Prince Huoxing will lead more than 600 warriors of Square Commandery to attend the exam of the School of the Martial Market this year. Square Commandery had been managing to gobble up Inferior Commandery. I guess they'll once again suppress our warriors during the exam. They said the reason why so many of our young warriors died in the exam last year was that Square Commandery's students had targeted on them. A young warrior said, no wonder only 3 of our warriors passed the exam. Square Commandery suppressed us on purpose. It's said that Prince Huoxing of Square Commandery is a genius of martial arts who had reached the Black Realm at the age of 17. He is at the same time a tamer who had captured lots of strong beasts. While some warriors were discussing Prince Huoxing, some were worried about the exam of the School of the Martial Market this year. After all, the examinee number of Square Commandery was 10 times than that of Inferior Commandery. If they were to suppress Inferior Commandery on purpose, more Inferior Commandery's warriors would die. At this moment, Ziqian, who was sitting next to Zhang Yuochen, took a thin needle out of her hair and kept it between her 2 fingers without any trace. Her body moved moderately closer to Zhang Yuochen. There were altogether 68 warriors riding on the back of the blood-feathered eagle. No one would notice that if Zhang Yuochen died under the toxin of the poisonous bee needle. None would know who poisoned him. She was about to stab the needle into Zhang Yuochen,